Grand opening, grand closing.
All right, welcome, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers. Your only friend these YouTube streets, Porter77. And as I promised and I said on Twitter, I will be covering this weekend the third quarter consolidated financials of PlayStation. Now, the reason why this video is important or interesting, what's the so what for you is we're going to address some of the conversations you're seeing on Twitter about what Sony said to their investors, multi-platform, going full third party. And just like I do with other videos, we are going to see the source, right? We already seen what happens when you put information in the hands of fanboys, fanboy media, apologists, corporate cucks, concubines. They twist everything. Remember, these were the same people that said, Tim Stewart didn't say he was going to put third-party games on, first-party games on PlayStation. Just talking about Activision. Oh, Satya didn't say he was going to put more games on PlayStation. He's strictly talking about ABK. And now look what happened, right? So now these same people that couldn't get their own favorite platform right, now they want to talk PlayStation. We're going to go through it, right? I looked through this already before. I took the timestamps because remember, this is a Sony corporation because not a brief. It's over an hour and 10 minutes long about, and it covers more than just PlayStation. We're not going to sit here for the whole hour. So what I did was, as I was listening to it, I jot down the timestamps and we're going to go through each one. All right. And then we're going to discuss it. You're going to hear it for yourself, and I'm going to pause it and I'm going to give you my comments behind it. Okay. This is no BS, no fluff. It is what it is. What they say is what they say. They said what they said. And I'm going to say it again. And I said this before. When a man shows you who he is, believe him. All right? So now let's go through this real quick.
Okada, corporate communications, serve as master of ceremonies.
So this
This
is the main dude right here, right? He's the president, COO, and CFO of Sony, not PlayStation. A lot of people are saying that he's the CEO of PlayStation. No. Sony, all of it, the big dog, top dog, all right? There's a difference because some things get taken out of context when he's addressing Sony and people applied it directly to PlayStation only, all right? So keep this in mind, all right? Just to show you something, all right? Again, let me show you this screen right here. Again, he is the president, CEO, representative corporate executive office of Sony Group Corporation. Okay, so he's the top dog of Sony as a whole. Okay, all right. Now I think he's the interim CEO of PlayStation until they find a proper or the appropriate boss. But this dude's the top dog. So when he looks at things, he's looking at things from the perspective as a whole company, as the whole corporation, because that's his responsibility, and he has a responsibility to the shareholders and investors, right? So that's this dude right here.
Mr. Hiroki Totoki, President, COO, and CFO. Ms. Naomi Matsuoka, Senior Vice President in charge of Corporate Planning and Control, Lead of Group Diversity, Equipment and Inclusion, Support for Financial Services and Entertainment Area. Mr. Sadahiko Hayakawa, Senior Vice President in charge of Finance and IR. These three people will be explaining the FY23 Q3 results and full year forecast, followed by Q&A.
All right, so let me go through the first timestamp, which is 429. We're going to start right here with, okay, we'll start right here.
PS5 hardware unit sales in the quarter were 8.2 million units, which fell short of the target to hit our annual shipments of 25 million units, but was a record high number of quarterly unit sales for PS5, and cumulative sales have exceeded 50 million units.
All right, so the first nonsense you see on the Twitter, everybody's just saying, oh, Sony failed to hit their mark, that's it, console's a failure, one of the reasons why they're going third party, blah, 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 blah. Complete misinterpretation. Sony over the last couple of months have been harping they want to set a new record. 25 million console sales. Never been done before by anybody. That was their target. That's what they're trying to do. They would love to hit that 25 million number. But a big portion was how much they sold in third quarter, which is October, November, December, the biggest shopping period of the year. They had a higher set amount towards that goal of 25 million. They did not hit that goal. So most likely they're not going to be able to reach the 25 million. But within the third quarter in itself, they have set a new record of console sales, which is 8.2 million. You see the graph here. They blown past quarter 3 of FY22. So you can see over here, this is FY quarter 22 right here. This was the previous record for third quarter. They blown right past it. And then you see here, and then you see here. So this 8.2 completely blown past the previous quarter. So in the metric of itself, they set a new metric, a new record in of itself, but they had a really high goal of 25 million. And later on in the presentation, you're going to see the challenges in that, right? But that's pretty much the crux of this. Now, let me move on to the next timestamp, which is 3326. And I think this is no, I'm lying. This is the Q&A. All right, so the next timestamp is the Q&A, which starts at 7:30. Well, not don't start at it, but the one that pertains to gaming, it's two of them. One is at 7:30, so let me go there. All right. Okay. Now, there's two topics to cover for this one. This one's are questions by the media. So the media is asking these Q&A questions.
In first-party software, we aim to continue to focus on producing high-quality works and developing live service games. But while major projects are currently under development, we do not plan to release any.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself. This one has to do with the CFO saying no first party 2025. So let's go back. Let me go back. So I'm sorry. This one specific is that the question of, Sony said no games until April 2025. That's what this one is about. So now listen to what he says.
Regarding first-party software, we aim to continue to focus on producing high-quality works and developing live service games. But while major projects are currently under development, we do not plan to release any new major existing franchise titles next fiscal year, like God of War Ragnarok and Marvel Spider-Man 2. Although the burden of acquisition-related costs will ease next fiscal year, we expect profit from first-party software to decrease slightly from this fiscal year due to the impact of the decrease in sales. Based upon this, operating income for the next fiscal year is currently expected to increase slightly from this fiscal year. However, while this is our baseline, we are reviewing measures for further improvement in profitability in advance of the annual forecast results announcement this May. Next is the music segment. Further improvement.
All right. So he did say we're not going to get major first-party, major franchise titles this fiscal year. So this fiscal year ends in March 2025. So April 2025 is when is the soonest you'll get which one. Now there's, I think the problem is just a translation between English and Japanese language. But what it sounds like to me, you're not going to get a major first-party game, right? Now, any new first-party game that comes out may not be considered major. Like, for example, Concord. People keep mentioning, well, Sony's funding Concord. That may not be a big major franchise title. Okay, could be a new IP, but the big blockbusters. So, I'll give you a hint. You're not getting Ghost of Tsushima. You're not going to get The Last of Us. And you're probably not going to get Uncharted. You're not going to get no big titles, no big major titles. You might get new IPs, but Concord may not be considered a major franchise title and stuff like that. Might because they're a new IP, whatever. But here's the problem. They are projecting decrease of software sales, So they're not expecting big sales from whatever they're doing if they're doing something at all. So there is some merit to question that the rest of the year you might not get big first party titles. So I don't think the conversation on the internet or on Twitter or what everybody's having is off merit. All right, you're not going to get a big title, so definitely don't expect, Sony Ben's new title or anything of it. Don't expect, X-Men, definitely. And I said people that's not a 2024 title. You know what I'm saying? Don't expect anything from Naughty Dog that's huge. It's not going to happen. So they're already preparing from a first-party perspective, most likely less revenue due to not having a big major title on the level of God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man. So that's their projection, right? Concord, I don't think they look at it as a big major title. They probably don't. Could be similar to Helldivers or whatever. Even though Helldivers is a breakout hit, So, yes, there is some credence to say that you might not get a huge major first-party title, right? Now, Concord, like Helldivers, could be a huge breakout hit, but that's not a guarantee. I think what they're trying to say is the titles that most likely, if they announced it, like if they announced Ghost of Tsushima 2, chances are that's going to be a big breakout hit. Something like that's not coming out, all right? So there is merit to that. Now we go into the Q&A. And this Q&A is from the media. Well, there's only one that pertains to gaming, and it's at 3326. Here we go.
Business. Over the last few years, you had shortages of smart chips. Semiconductor chip supply was the problem. But then the smartphone chip is becoming more difficult to produce additional value by miniaturizing it. In the past, if you wait for 2 or 3 more years, more advanced CTGTs can reduce the energy consumption with the much lower prices. You could do that, right? So the hardware itself, you can sell at 30,000 yen or so. You could take that strategy. But right now, 4, 5, or 3 nanometers, if you are trying to get those miniaturized semiconductor chips, it will become more expensive. So taking that strategy become more expensive, more complicated. But at the same time, you could expand on the network to have different ways to develop a GPU. Or do you think still we need to rely on hardware with the pricing so that you can widely sell them? Do you still not giving up that option? So that's my question. Second question is about cash flow. Several years ago.
All right, the cash flow question doesn't matter, but basically, Jesus, talk about a long-winded question, right? And he asked 3 questions within the question. He's pretty much referring to the cost of chipsets. So this is something I wasn't really aware of, and you're going to see this theme because it gets pointed out a couple of times, but apparently the cost of the chipsets are not getting cheaper as it used to in the past. And he even mentions it compared to PS4, and we'll see that in one of the questions. But apparently with the die shrinking, it's actually not a cost savings, right? Or at least it's not a huge cost savings as compared to previous generations when you shrink, the components, everything, you get this huge cost savings. And that's where you see consoles being launched for $300, $250 in bundles. You're not seeing that much this gen, or at least not from PlayStation, definitely. They pretty much stood the same price, or they actually increased it to maintain profitability. And the number one cost, or not the number one, but the main reason is the chipsets, as they shrink it, to provide, lower output power consumption, lower heat signatures, while the same performance, it's actually not that much cheaper. So that's pretty interesting.
Years ago, you had a 40 the plan would make reduce inventory to manage invest. Well, first question about your budget, and there's a structural issue, as you have pointed out. And you said it exactly right. PS5 today is using nano die that is on single digit. In the past, PS4, or let's say previous version, chip shrink benefit is very difficult to come by, unlike older generation. Therefore, cost reduction is very difficult, simply put, right? If I simplify the explanation. Now, a sales strategy, we used to have a steep discount, but we do not want to rely on that. We want to make sure our business is profitable, as well as we want to focus on user engagement together with the volume of sales of units. You need to still strike a nice balance between all those components. So generation from PS4 to 5, one of the biggest differences is that we shifted more focus on network service. That's one. And from PS4 to PS5, we can continue to hand over the consumer customers. So user engagement is something that we want to sustain so that we can sustain the level of MAU. That would be the most critical things in our business right now. Now, our plan for the hardware, that is like one is a commercial strategy that gets to do with the commercial strategy, and what would be the right pricing for customers. But whatever that might be, you cannot enjoy a game without client device in your hand. So in that sense, PS Portal would be one device that we just came up with as a that was an experiment, but we are getting some feedbacks. We are hoping to get more feedback. But we can get those feedback while customer is using them so that our services and our network can mature, evolve by receiving those feedbacks. Now, the other question that you...
All right, so the other question don't matter, but so in this case, he just reiterated that the steep discounts is not a thing they're doing, but again, it's because they can't, because they're not getting steep cost reductions with these new PlayStations and the chipsets and stuff like that. Now, that's something that's new to gaming, because the previous generations, all generations, when you shrink the die, you shrink the chipsets and all that stuff, you get cost reductions. That's why consoles traditionally, you get great discounts. You get great Black Friday deals. They're like at $300, whatever, and it's still profitable. That's not happening. And if that's a reoccurring thing in console gaming, I'm going to tell you, that's a catalyst for things to change. I'm going to give my points towards the end because we're going to have to go through this stuff. But that is something that honestly changed. And that's new. That's not something that happens. Like to say that you go through revisions of the consoles, but you're not really getting those steep cost benefits, so that way you can lower the cost of the console, still make profit off the console, but you reach a wider market because the console's cheaper. That's a problem, right? And we're going to talk about that. The next window we're going to go to. All right, so now that question was primarily by one of the media. Now we're going to get into the second segment of the Q&A, which is specifically from the investors. And the one specific to PlayStation starts at the 52-minute mark. And I'm going to just go right there, just a little bit before it. Go right here and let's listen to it.
Securities. Game. I have questions regarding game. MAU became record high level. PS5 cumulative sales is already exceeding. So PS5 alone will not be able to satisfy that. Why is it MAU has grown to this level? Can you please explain a bit more in detail? MAU is a metric for user engagement, an important metric. Well, MAU is increasing. In the fourth quarter, the profit is not as much as expected. MAU increases, but the profit was not as high. What is the background for this?
So this is a good question, right? So PlayStation has set a record MAU, monthly active users. And yes, they are saying it is an important metric. It is what it is. They say it, right? But they noticed despite monthly active users going up, the profit hasn't really went up along with it. This is not saying they didn't make profit. It just they didn't make more profit because if the MAU metric is important, then the MAU metric should coincide or to some level be proportional to profit. But they want to explain how come the MAU went up to a new record for the PlayStation brand. How come the profit didn't align with it? And this is going to be his answer.
Thank you for your question. First, with regards to MAU, for one thing, there's seasonality. Third quarter is the holiday season. So there's seasonality factor. And then free-to-play titles, we had the big hits, so we are enjoying benefit from that. These are the two major drivers for increasing MAU. And then, engagement metric, third quarter. I already explained a bit. Special factors were there. And about 30 billion of profit will be shifted to the fourth quarter from the third quarter. PS5, inventory valuation, related number. In the second half, it will be leveled. But if you only look at the third quarter, the profit level, as it appears, is slightly less than what it actually is.
All right. So in terms of the MAU metric, the reason why it skyrocketed, he's attributing to two things. The season, which is the holiday season, October, December, possibly the most activity and most console sales is usually the month where you get the most of everything in gaming. That's nothing new, right? But he also attributing, so that's one factor. The second factor he said is the free-to-play games. Now that makes sense. Now think about it. It's literally a free-to-play game, right? So if more people are jumping on free-to-play games, how does that translate to money spent? Well, the only way in a free-to-play game you make money is through money transactions, buying the dance, the t-shirts and the hats and the glasses and all this other stuff. It's simply all the monetized stuff that a free-to-play game does, right? But what if you got new users who jump on these free-to-plays and they don't actually buy anything and they just play? Sure, you got the monthly active user metric up, but you make no money because they're not buying anything. And this is some of the things that some of us were like, okay, how do we really make, or how does the term monthly active user mean something and translate to dollars? You don't pay rent by telling the landlord, I got 100,000 monthly active users. The landlord doesn't take monthly active users. They take money, right? Go to a restaurant and try to buy a meal with monthly active users and see how far that gets you. So it has to translate to some type of revenue. And in a free-to-play game, the only revenue you get is money transactions of, cosmetics and all this stuff. But if the user doesn't buy into that and they still enjoy the game, and they could put 10,000 hours into your free-to-play, but if they do not buy not one hat, you make no money. And that's inherently the problem with the MAU metric. It's important to them, but they're going to have to really identify how that metric really translate into dollars. Now, if they're talking about MAUs and engagement with game sales, the games that you buy and play. Oh, look how many people are engaged in Spider-Man. Look how many people are engaged in Helldivers. Look how many people are engaged in whatever. Well, you can actually tell because they had to buy that game or they had to subscribe to a subscription to play that game, like Call of Duty, whatever. But when you got a free-to-play, which gets huge engagement, you have to figure out, okay, you got all these people playing, but how many of them are buying the money transaction items? Right? So it's a tricky thing right there, right? The next question doesn't really mean anything, so we're going to move on to 5408, and this is a big one, right? Because this one right here is a question pertaining to him being the CFO COO for 4 months, and what has he noticed? Now, you probably seen the quote, I have to look at profitability versus creativity. You've seen those quotes. Well, this is the segment we're going to talk about. But remember, I think people confuse his statement and used it strictly on PlayStation, when in actuality, he's talking about Sony Corporation as a whole. Remember, he's one of the top dogs at Sony. And I think this is where a lot of confusion came. But we're going to listen to it right here.
Sure. To Mr. Totoki, the first question is as follows. It's 4 months since you became the president. What have you noticed or realized since you have become the president? Next quarter, there's no large first parties.
but the W3C titles going to be half. Now in 2020, FY 2025, what kind of measures are you considering? If you can share with us your impressions. The second question is about the return to shareholders. I understand that the strategic investment is going to become slightly lower. I change
So let's give it a second question because it hasn't
significantly,
no
but if you
bearing.
have any comments on that point. Yes, thank you very much for your question. SIE, I am the chairperson. It's been about 4 months, and I am trying to demonstrate leadership and trying to have as many meetings as possible with the management team. I also visit studios.
So he did say SIE.
Everyone is working really hard to fulfill their responsibility, to trying to optimize the business, and I understand that. But overall growth and sustainable profitability or increasing margin, how will that translate to these goals? I don't think people understand that deeply. I think that is the problem of the organization.
So he's saying, one correction, SIE, because I just caught that. I didn't catch that before, but he did say SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment. So he's, right now, from his assessment, they don't really know how to maximize profits and stuff, right? That's his assessment of the people that work there, okay? It is what it is. He doesn't feel that organization truly knows how, to make a profit or maximize profit to the fullest extent.
So as far as I'm concerned, I try to understand what is happening in the company, in the industry, and also the perspective of the analysts, and try to explain in a transparent manner so that people can recognize and notice these issues so that we can have a harmonized approach going forward. That is a very general comment since I became the chairperson. There are concrete points which I will not go into today. Now, about visiting the studios and about Bansi, and I've had meetings with leaders there. The studios, people who work in the studios have very high motivation. They're very highly motivated. They're very good people, and they're very creative people. They have great creative minds, and they also have knowledge about live streaming. However, having said that, when it comes to the business itself, I think there is room for improvement. And that's got to do about how to use the money or about the schedule of development or how to fulfill one's accountability towards development, etc. Those are my frank impressions.
Oh, all right. So he's locking down some of that freedom. Let's call it what it is, right? He feels they're very creative. They're very motivated, which is good for us gamers, right? That these developers are creative, they're motivated, they want to make the good games, right? But the best way I can explain it, he's probably thinking that they're like spoiled children. They don't respect where the money comes from. They could tighten up their schedules. They could tighten up the books. They can make better decisions on how to properly manage the money. So homeboy is going to put a clamp on a lot of stuff. How that impacts the creativity, the motivation to work, I don't know, can't tell you that. But he feels they're probably too liberal with how they spend money, and he could tighten that up. Tighten up the schedules, just balance the books, all that stuff. And so I think he's going to look into balancing it out where you guys just don't have a blank check and free reign. Respect the money. Pay attention to your schedules. Pay attention to how the money be spent. I mean, I get it. That's his job. That's his responsibility. We'll see how that goes.
So I will continue to engage in dialogue with the people so that we can find the right way to proceed. Now, shareholder returns and dividends.
Separate question because that's overall. But he says we're gonna, have a meeting so we can come to an agreement. They ain't no come to agreement. They're the top dogs. It comes that like really, what can you agree to? If you're not good, if the studios in his eyes are not balancing the books, we'll just use that term properly, to maximize profit, to make sure the books and the schedules are clean. If they're not doing that at all, then there is no, it's pretty much fix yourself. And you're going to fix yourself to this level, right? That's what's going to happen, But this has no say on so far about multi-platform strategies or whatever, at least not here, but we will get to that. So the next segment, where we at right now, we're at 58.15. We're going to go to 59.18. That's the next target mark, 59.18. So let me go 1 second before. And let's see what I said.
Semiconductor, they were actually top line's growing, but the profit level is not really growing up, irrespective of 3 years or not. What are the things that you think, Toki-san, what do you think you need to have, whether it's possible or not? Is there any particular initiative or angle that you want to get at to improve the bottom line rather than only top line? Well, thank you for gaming this year. It was profit margin, especially the operating margin, was not really a wonderful situation. Well, partly because we are currently in a transition where the PS5 as a hardware units are expanding as a process. But what we need to manage is PS4 and the previous unlike PS4 or previous generations, consoles, if you look at the console cycle, cost reduction within the cycle is very difficult to come by. And that is a big challenge because if you think about PS console device, unlike high specification computers, it's affordable price while with the very safe, comfortable environment with a very great experience. That's wonderful things about PlayStations. But compared to the past, in order the cost for building that experience, memory chipsets, the prices of the cost of all those components are going up as a fact. And how can we, given the situation, can put our product plans together to?
Now you heard him. That's actually interesting. He said that the cost actually went up to get these chipsets, which is very unique this generation compared to the previous generation. That usually doesn't happen. Cost for silicon usually always drops. Price is going up. So I'm gonna tell you this. If this is not a one-off for this gen, if this trend continues generation after generation, things could play. Because think about it. To gain, even though PlayStation's selling great, but you always want to sell more, significantly more than previous generations, right? But one of those factors is reducing the cost of the console so you hit that new market, right? You hit that $400 market. You hit that $300 market. You hit that $200 market. But they can't do that because the cost of the chips, as he said, actually went up in some cases. So if you can't sell the consoles the way you expect it to, because you can't really have those steep discounts, you're going to have to come up with different strategies.
To make it affordable, so that without relying on steep discounts, to reasonably sell them to continue our commercial journey on a sustainable basis. I personally think that's an important, and there is an opportunity in that, and that's how I see it. And the other potential driver is the first-party title generation. because in the past, as you all know, we wanted to popularize console, and the title.
You hear him? In the past, they want to popularize console. It came out of his words. What I tell you guys, did I annoy you? I'm sorry, but I did that on purpose. If that's bothering your ears, good, because you fucking need to listen to me. When a man shows you who the hell he fucking is, believe him. And if you're pissed off that I banged your ears, good, because that means I got your attention. You heard him out of his mouth. In the past, popularized consoles. Man, show you who he is.
The first-party title main purpose was to make the hardware or the console popular, right? It is true, right? But there's a synergy to it.
You know what? I'm gonna rewind it again.
Wanted to popularize console.
I'm gonna rewind it again.
Title generation, because in the past,
as
you all know, we wanted to popularize console. And the title was the first-party title main purpose was to make the hardware or the console popular.
The main purpose of the first-party title was to make the console popular. You're speaking language as if they have a shift in philosophy. You're hearing it. Listen, bro, you came here for a reason. You wanted me to drop this video for a reason. If you want me to bullshit and damage control, you on the wrong channel, brother. 60 frames no lag is named that for a reason. If a man shows you who he is, believe him. Listen to his language.
Right, it is true, right? But there's a synergy to it. So if we have a strong first-party content, not only with our console, but also other platforms like computers, and the first-party can be grown with multi-platforms, and that can help operating profit to improve. So that's another one that we want to practically work on. I personally think there are opportunities out there for improvement of margin. So I would like to go aggressive on improving our margin performance. Now to INSS.
All right, different topic. Now, I'm going to help you PlayStation gamers out the same way the Xbox gamers avoided. Do not damage control this with, well, he's talking about helmet holes. We already put games on PC. No. You don't answer a question on future things you can do with stuff you already did. Yes, PlayStation games are already on PC. You've seen PlayStation put games on PC. Yes, 2 years ago, Helman Hall said we're going to put live service games day on PC. Those decisions are already done. It's already done. So now the question is, what is he looking for to capitalize? What improvements is he saying? Meaning, whatever is happening today, he wants to do something better. And now the question is, what are those things better? So, could first party day and date across all games make things better? Maybe. I can't answer that question. That question is going to be answered by him and his staff. He's going to decide if day and date on PC is better, right? Or maybe a faster tempo, right? For example, Gran Turismo 7 has been out, I think as of March, is going to be 2 years. It's still not on PC. I think MLB The Show is still not on PC, right? There's certain games still not on PC. And he's probably like, why? What are we waiting for? How come it's taking so long? Speed up the tempo. Get it on there. Get Gran Turismo on there. Get MLB The Show on there. Get whatever on there. right? How come we have a back catalog of games and we're not trying to capitalize? How come Infamous Second Son is not on there? How come the smaller titles that we probably could easily port, like Gravity Rush 2, Resogun, Super Stardust, how come none of those games are on PC? That's another strategy too. But understand this, and this is the only point I could tell you guys. Do not say he is talking about the strategy that's already implemented. That does not answer the question on what future improvements you can do. You don't provide an answer of future improvements or things that can be done better with stuff that's already in play. That's not improving or making things better. That was the mistake Xbox gamers did when the question was asked. They confused the question. He is talking about doing something more. So you have to ask yourself, what is PlayStation doing now and what does more look like? And that could be day-and-date PC. That could be the answer. Or faster tempo. Or there's a lot of IPs that no one talks about. Hire companies to port those IPs over to PC that's already dormant. Again, Infamous Second Son, why is that not on PC? It could easily be on PC. You could get another company, outsource it, make a remake, put it on PS5 and PC, and boom, right? Gravity Rush 2, again, Resogun, Super Stardust, there's a lot, whatever, okay? Do not take the strategy that's already implemented and think that's what he meant answer. No. He's talking about something more, and I'm being real with you. Do not scratch off multi-plat day and date. Now, of course, people are going to argue and say, no, they're not going to do that because of the ecosystem. They're trying to buy PlayStation. You just heard them say in the past, first party was used to popularize the console. He said it, and I rewinded it for you to hear it. In the past. Don't die on this hill. Don't. I'm telling you, don't die on this hill. The door's open for any decision for PlayStation to make. Do not write off day-and-date PC. There's no reason for you to write it off. What I recommend is just see and wait, see how things go, and if Sony makes a decision, evaluate that decision, and then you judge for yourself how you want to game, what device you want to game on, and what's best for you. That's it. That's all you can do. But I will not die in this hell in damage control and make definitive statements. Don't make definitive statements like you know this guy. You don't know this guy. And you see the terms he used. I already warned you. When a man shows you who he is, believe him.
So far in the past, R&D and capital investment comes together.
Oh, that's a different topic. So let me go to the last one, which is 104. No, there's two more. So there's 104 and there's 107. So let me go to 104, 104.29. Let me go to this one. Excuse me. The reason why you see me off the screen is because I'm looking at the timestamp. Okay, so we'll go here.
I have one question. Next fiscal year, a slight increase in profit you are expecting. At 270 billion this year, and in the past the peak was more than 300 billion. So the peak in FY21 with the PS5, it's very difficult to exceed the peak level of 300 in 21. I may be asking a repeated question, but MAU 123 million is to be increased. And further, is it possible to exceed the peak in profit level? Especially in the cycle, the fifth year is the peak of the hardware, and sixth year is the peak of hardware, and seventh year is the peak of the margin. That was a cycle, as I understand this in the past. So next year will be the sixth year of the release, and the software mainly is, if it is third party, I think it is regrettable. But how should we interpret this? Can you please explain? Thank you. Well, PS4 can be one big reference for us. Under COVID-19, we had a COVID-19 period, so we cannot accurately say 5th year, 6th year, and 7th year for PS5. There may be some argument. Margin or the profit level. Absolute amount of profit is to be increased, and for that, it is challenging, but I'd like to try and increase. At the time of compared to PS5, market itself, including the third-party titles, the market is increasing for PS5, but the profitability of hardware is higher for PS4. So
it's really rough translation, right? But ultimately, right, the third-party market profit is getting bigger for PlayStation 5, but the hardware profit is lower as compared to PlayStation 4. So apparently PlayStation 4 had a higher margins of console hardware profit, right? And again, this leads to the conversation of the components are expensive and they're getting more expensive. They're not doing what traditionally it was done in the past, which was, you know, you get these things lower and lower, right? So that's that's a new thing for gaming, right? That changes things, because if this is not a one-off in every generation of consoles, it's gonna get making consoles, you don't see that cost reduction, and it's hard to maintain profitability. It's hard to do the discounts for consoles. It's hard to do those things. You have to come up with a new strategy. You can't use the same strategy during the period when console components dropped, price reduced, and it leveraged high profitability, and you can do discounts which can reach consoles into more people's hands. If you can't have that strategy no more, you're gonna come up with a new strategy, and what that strategy is, that's up to him and his staff and his analysts and the bosses and the investors. And that's new territory. So what I would say to you, past experience does help us, guide us into seeing, what happens in gaming. But this is new now. This is new information. This is new now. So things change now. It's no longer similar to the past generations. We can't rely on past experience because they're going through something totally new, totally unique to console generation gaming. They're going to have to update their strategy. If this is the new normal, strategy changes, right?
With BOM cost will not decrease with the new console. So how we can hit the balance with the margin?
BOM cost. For those of you that don't know, BOM is BOM, bill of materials. That is all the components, the logistics, everything to create a console. And he says they're not decreasing, which only, I know they don't cover it, but if the PS5 Pro is real, wouldn't that compound the problem? Discussion for another time.
To disseminate PS5 is important. And second point, this fiscal year and next fiscal year, the acquisition cost of the past is also incurred. So as the acquisition-related cost burden decreases, that will become a factor for increase in profit. So we have to think this in an integrated fashion. And in the era of PS5, I do not think that I am not going to give up and renew the peak. So in the next mid-range plan, we would like to challenge and try to exceed the peak of the past.
So the Bungie acquisition is also impacting profitability, which I think everybody mentions, but that's also impacting profit because they had to spend a lot of money, and it's going to take a while before they see money from that arrangement.
The next person will be the last person to ask the question. Aida-san from JP Morgan.
This is the last one.
This is Aida from JP Morgan Securities. On games, you have been saying 123 million of the MAU, and you had a great hit with a free title. And I understand that these are titles to which you invest. Well, regarding those games, I think new modes have been added, or you have a collaboration with Disney, which are different expectations toward growth from the past. From your perspective, these third-party titles, what are your expectations toward those titles? And as an investor, what are your expectations? And the profitability for games for next fiscal year. You didn't mention about the add-ons. So what's happening there? Thank you. Like you say, those titles are contributing significantly. That's true. Collaboration with other companies is something that we can't comment. Well, those companies are attractive companies to which we would like to invest, and it's a positive development for us. And that collaboration, we hope that will generate an upside for us. And add-on sales for next fiscal year, whether that is being reflected or not, well, the business plan hasn't been fixed yet. So at this point in time, it's hard for me to comment on that point. But the third-party titles will, if they grow, that will be very positive for us, and we hope to utilize that momentum, take advantage of that momentum. Since it's time, we'd like to
All right, so that's it. So you heard it all here, right? Wow, I'm looking at the timer, it's almost an hour. I apologize that this is almost an hour, but you heard it here first. You heard the rundown, you saw the summarize. I'm going to just leave you all with this, all right? Don't die on a hill on what corporate decides, okay? We really don't get all the information. You can, like, if something's obvious, okay, I get it. Something is truly obvious. But in this case, the conversation of whether PlayStation games go day and day PC, that could be a very real reality. I would not write that off at all. You already heard some statements talking about how they looked at things in the past. It really comes down to two things. And I said this, I think, on Crossfire, right? For decisions to change, it really comes down to two things. The people, the culture of the people. When you get new leadership, they can have a different perspective on how they feel they can make money. That's number one. And then number two, you can have a bad generation in gaming to make you pivot. That's all it takes, right? Now, I don't think that, clearly the PS5 is not going through a bad generation in gaming, right? But there is some trials and tribulations. It is going through some challenges that we didn't know about. Building the PS5 is still pretty expensive. They are still spending some, a significant amount of money to build these stuff because the cost has not went down. They're still making profit, but it's not nowhere near as big as what they did with the PlayStation 4. So the profit on each PlayStation 5 sold is less as compared to what they did with PlayStation 4. And that's a problem because in order to maintain that profit, they cannot reduce or significantly provide good, steep discounts. And if they can't provide those steep discounts, they can't, or it's more challenging for them to reach the market they normally would. There's a difference between a $500 market and a $300 market. And right now, they're unable to hit that $300 market because you best believe If a PlayStation 5 drops down to $300, that thing is booming. That thing is booming. It's selling an F-ton. But the problem is they will probably be losing money. And this deep into the console gen, they are not going to lose money. But this is pretty interesting because I wonder how the PlayStation 5 Pro will play in all of this. I have a feeling if they cannot bring the PlayStation 5, just the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 5 Slim, if they really can't sell that thing under $500, then there's no way the Pro costs $500. And that's just a speculation on my part. I just don't see it if they're already admitting that silicon still costs a pretty penny. So you're probably looking at a PS5 Pro at $600. Easy. But that's a conversation for a different time. I hope you enjoyed the video, or at the very least, if you're really interested in the topic, I hope this cleared things up. Last note, don't die on any hill. These execs are going to do what they're going to do, and there's nothing you can do about it. Focus more on you, on whether or not the platform is right for you based on the decision they made. And do you move on to another platform? Let's say like PC. That's all you got to do. If you stay on PlayStation for the reason that you want. If you feel like, you know what, this is not what I want anymore, they're not doing the moves, I'm going to PC. Guess what? Nothing wrong with that, because that's the best, right? That's the best decision for you. Anyway, your only friend is YouTube Streets PorterRock77. I'll see you guys Tuesday, 60 Frames Don't Lag podcast. You guys take care. Peace.
Grand opening, grand closing.